What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's first exclusive segment from the greatest podcast on turf. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Anthony.
And for this exclusive segment, as you guys know, our first exclusive segment of the week, we are doing our weekly waiver wire pickups and also a couple guys that you might want to look towards, the next morning after. Maybe you can pick them up without a waiver. Just some guys to look out for.
Yeah, and with that being said, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you're new, follow us on Instagram, follow our Twitter pages, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Keep showing us love. We are right now recording this Monday, so the Eagles-Cowboys game hasn't happened. That's why I'm repping Zeke, because it's F the Eagles around here. With that being said, we are not there today, but don't forget to check out our sponsor, Little Italy Pizza Shop, my family's business. Link in the description to the brand new website. Has catering details, menus, locations, all that stuff on there. So be sure to click the link in the description to check that out. We got the best pizza, best cheesesteaks in the state of Delaware, 2 different locations in the state of Delaware. So be sure to check my family's business out. Show us some love. They always let us record there. We're not there today. We got some plans tonight, so we can't record tonight. And with that being said, waiver wire?
So I'm going to start us off with the hottest waiver wire pickup of the week, the easiest one to go out there and grab, and that is Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. This is for obvious reasons. Christian McCaffrey, banged up, bad hamstring. I think he's going to be out for, 5-6 weeks, give or take?
3 to 6, something like that, I'm pretty sure.
With that being said, be sure to go ahead and try to get Chuba Hubbard if he's available in one of your leagues. Basically, he's going to be the starting running back for the Carolina Panthers. This might not be a confident 100% start, but if you are banged up at the position of running back, which a lot of people, tend to be with Dalvin Cook, Darrell Henderson, etc., a lot of running backs tend to get hurt. Go ahead and take a shot on Chuba Hubbard, who opens up against Dallas Cowboys, who, I don't know if you guys know this, but they don't have the greatest defense in all football. Not even top 10.
No.
So go ahead and pick up Chuba Hubbard. He's the guy that's going to get most of the carries for the Carolina Panthers, a team that's 3-0, pretty good. Decent offense. It hasn't been the greatest, but it's decent. Go ahead and get him started running back.
This one kind of just depends on the league you're in and who you're with, because I know some people that pick Chuba Hubbard up during the fantasy draft as a handcuff, but if he's not available, I highly recommend going to get him. He's the top waiver wire pickup of the week. He's one of those pickups how Alexander Madison was last week, or how Latavius Murray was when he was with the Saints if Alvin Kamara was banged up. He's one of those pickups you gotta have. He got a lot of touches after Christian McCaffrey went down. And the Panthers' offense is heavily revolved around that running back position. And Chuba Hubbard's a guy who they did draft in the 4th, 5th round, I'll say. So, they're still kind of high on him. So, look for him to have a big week this week against the Dallas Cowboys, who are going to trash the Eagles tonight. I like that one. And then moving on to the next waiver wire pickup. Here's a guy who kind of came out of nowhere, I feel like. He hadn't done much the first 2 weeks of the season, but against the Rams, the Bucs really got him going a lot, and that guy is Giovani Bernard. Now, we saw as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went down, Giovani Bernard was seeing a lot more playing time because they weren't running the ball as much, and that's exactly why they brought Giovani Bernard in, because Leonard Fournette isn't a guy particularly who you want catching passes out of and running routes out of the backfield. Ronald Jones really isn't that guy either, so that's why they bought Giovani Bernard on the roster after he was cut by the Bengals. So, Giovani Bernard, I'm not sure he's a Sherlock start every week just because I can't see the Bucs being down in many games. But if the Bucs get into the shootout games, like we are playing from behind at some points like we saw them do last season numerous times and how we saw them against the Rams yesterday, Giovani Bernard's going to get a lot more time. So, I put in for him in my leagues already, and it's not even Tuesday yet, just to stash him on my bench. Maybe if they have a tough game, like if they're playing I don't even know who they got on their schedule, but if they're playing a high-power offense, he'll probably go in a lineup just because he had 11 fantasy points yesterday, which isn't crazy good, but for a third-string running back, who produced better than the other 2 running backs in the committee, it's always a good sign. So Giovani Bernard is the guy.
Yeah, all throughout the dawn of time, Tom Brady's been passing to his running backs. Deion Lewis, James White, tons of guys got success from Tom Brady. And Giovani Bernard is the guy in Tampa. He's the veteran receiving running back that they had. They went out there and got him for a reason. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, who's in the doghouse, they're not known for being receiving backs. Giovani Bernard is, and he was, during the Rams blowout victory over the Buccaneers. So, like he said, any type of offensive powerhouse that rolls up against Tampa, you could probably start Giovani Bernard, especially in like a daily fantasy type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next guy I'm bringing up is Tim Patrick. I'm pretty sure we talked about him last week, and he should be owned in the majority of leagues, but I think he's still hovering around that 50% mark. It's not very high at all. And for me, I mean, it's pretty obvious why. Jerry Jeudy's banged up, for one. For two, KJ Hamler, I believe, is out for the year. I think that just happened today. And 23 in Yahoo. So yeah, with that being said, Tim Patrick is the pickup that you want on this Denver Broncos team. I get it, Cortland Sutton's there, but every team needs a number 2 receiver, and Tim Patrick for the past 3 weeks has been very consistent. In PPR, he's scoring about 10 points every single time, and that was with Jerry Jeudy being there the first week, with KJ Hamler there the second week, and now it's literally just a 2-man show until Jerry Jeudy comes back. So you can go ahead and pick up Tim Patrick and feel pretty safe about doing it, in my opinion. He's not a wide receiver 1, but I think he's a pretty safe play, especially at like flex or wide receiver 2.
I played him in my flex this past week against the Jets, and he didn't disappoint. And to your point, like you said, with KJ Hamler being out now, it's Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Kendall Hilton, the one guy to play quarterback for them last year when they ran out of quarterbacks. So, I mean, yeah, Tim Patrick, I bought in this hype after week 1. I grabbed him in a couple leagues. I still have him. Like I said, I just started him. So, I mean, I'll vouch for Tim Patrick going in off the waivers. And like I said, on Yahoo, 23% of leagues. So he's most likely there. And I'm sure after Tuesday, with Hamler being out and with him being the receiver 2 on the team, I'm sure his stock in fantasy, that 23, is going to jump to maybe like a 50 or 60. All right, moving on to this next guy. We talked about him kind of at the beginning of the season, maybe to be a receiver 2. He was definitely an upgrade of what they had last year. So with that being said, Emmanuel Sanders from the Buffalo Bills. He had a quiet start to the year. The Bills offense didn't really pick up where it left off last year up until week 2. These past 2 weeks of their offense have been on fire, and this week especially, Emmanuel Sanders caught, 2 or 3 touchdowns in the victory against the Washington football team. So, I mean, that just goes to show if Stephon Diggs has a tough corner matchup. He was going up against Washington's defense, who's got Kyle Fuller. The corner is pretty good there. Washington's defense hasn't really picked its footing yet. Link below in the podcast. We're going to touch on that more on today's podcast. Be sure to check it out. Check out all of our other content from this week. Like we've been doing, we got 5-6 episodes a week getting uploaded, so be sure to check it out for the best fantasy football advice, for the best NFL advice, and best content you'll ever find. But yeah, with that being said, Emmanuel Sanders, he had a quiet start to the year, but Josh Allen targeted him a lot because Diggs had a unfavorable corner matchup, I guess I would take. I'm not saying Kyle Fuller's an elite top 3 corner, but Josh Allen, I guess, didn't like the matchup because Emmanuel Sanders went out and had 2-3 touchdowns, 100 yards receiving. He had himself a day. So, I mean, if that continues, I know the Bills have a tough schedule coming up. I know there's a couple tough teams on their schedule who have solid defenses. So, I mean, if you just even Emmanuel Sanders, he's a kind of a risky flex play every week. But, I mean, from what we saw last week, it just shows he could have one of those weeks any week of the season, really.
Yeah, the Bills are one of the top passing offenses in all football. They have Josh Allen, a quarterback, and I think they were about 4th most last year, this year, something like that. So you want a lot of options in this Bills offense just because of how good they are and how good they are at scoring points. They just hung up about 40 on Washington, who's supposedly a good defense. So with that being said, go ahead and get Emmanuel Sanders. And this next guy I'm going to talk about isn't necessarily a waiver wire pickup, but he is somebody that you want to look towards if you're streaming a quarterback every week, and that is Sam Darnold. I know. I get it. The first 2 weeks, Sam Darnold, he scored 19 points. One of those weeks was against the Saints, a hard defense. This past week, he scored over 20 against, who did they play?
So they played
the Texans Thursday night football. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, and rushing quarterbacks kill it. I get that Sam Darnold's not a rushing quarterback, but if they're willing to, tell him to go ahead and get into an end zone, you could possibly get a rushing touchdown out of Sam Darnold. And guess the team that he plays next week? The Dallas Cowboys. They're not known for a great defense, like we said before, so go ahead and get Sam Darnold if you're in that need of streaming a quarterback. This isn't a waiver pickup. Don't don't go for him on waivers. But if you wake up next morning and you're sitting there with a quarterback that isn't very good, that plays a hard team, go ahead and get Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I like that one, and that's kind of funny because you're a guy who's known to not be a fan of Sam Darnold.
I'm not a fan.
You've repeatedly gone out on a limb and just absolutely destroyed the guy. But I mean, I like it. He had a good game. I was one of those people who didn't really know what to think about the Panthers acquiring Sam Darnold, but I mean, it seemed to pay off so far. They're 3-0. Week 1 was tough, but I mean, the past few weeks he's looked really good. The Panthers team is all around look good, and they did just get C.J. Henderson. So I mean, Panthers, look for them to keep rolling. Moving on, I'm sticking with the Buffalo Bills train. I just touched on Emmanuel Sanders last time, so I'm gonna go ahead and say Zack Moss. Now, the Bills running back situation is extremely ugly, I know. Their running attack is always very inconsistent, going back to last year, even the year before that. We really don't know who the running back one is between Devin Singletary and Zack Moss. But these past few weeks, Zack Moss has absolutely killed it, putting up 15 and 18 fantasy points the past 2 weeks. In the past 2 weeks, he has 1 receiving touchdown and 5 rushing touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. So that just goes to show the Buffalo Bills, they have a healthy offensive line now. They bought back all their key pieces. And I think after last year, their big takeaway was defensive line and lack of rushing attack. So, I mean, we've seen them start to get going on the run. I mean, even last week against the Dolphins, Devin Singletary and Zack Moss each had 2 touchdowns each. And Zack Moss is only rostered in 54% of Yahoo leagues. And if Zack Moss is putting up 15, 20 points in 2 weeks with 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks, I mean, that's a good sign. And I mean, he seems to have the momentum at running back 1 for the Bills. High-powered offense who's just been rolling right now. Who does Buffalo play this week? Do we know? I'm a dummy. And the Bills play the Houston Texans this upcoming week, who just got ran all over by Chuba Hubbard and Sam Darnold. So, I mean, Zack Moss, I'm going to do it right now. Claim, I'll do it later. Zack Moss, definitely pickup of the week, arguably going for pickup of the week with that one.
Yeah, that's fair. And that wraps up our waiver pickups. You know, throwing some guys that...
Yeah, just a couple guys to watch out for. I'll let you take yours to start.
So I'll say the first guy, and this is a very deep sleeper type of guy. This isn't a guy that you should probably pick up this week, but keep an eye out for him. And that's Terrence Marshall.
Out of?
LSU. There's, you know, rumors around that Robbie Anderson is on the decline, and he's not doing, you know, as great. Last Thursday, he played Terrence Marshall played 2 less snaps than Robbie Anderson. That is concerning. Robbie Anderson might be on his way out of the door in Carolina, and with Christian McCaffrey being hurt, somebody's got to catch passes for him. I get DJ Moore's there. DJ Moore's a stud. He's going to get the majority boost, but, you know, second, who's that guy? It's either going to be Robbie Anderson or Terrence Marshall, and there is a there's a good chance that it will be Terrence Marshall just because of the way the Carolina Panthers has been using him and how little Robbie Anderson has been being used.
This is the week of the Carolina Panthers waiver wire pickup. That's 3. But no. But no, I mean, I'm going to throw a couple Raiders receivers out there on the radar. I talked about him before. Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow. The Raiders have been rolling through teams somehow. Offense has been doing good. Hunter Renfrow's been producing. Bryan Edwards hasn't seemed to get going yet, but he gets targeted a lot.
I personally like Ruggs over Edwards, personally.
It's fair. AJ Green is another guy. AJ Green's averaged 6 targets a game for the past 3 games. He had breakout. Him and Christian Kirk, both names to watch out for on the waiver wire as well. Both had 100 yards. I'm leaning more towards AJ Green. 6 targets a game is a lot. And if he catches these targets and he's getting these touchdowns, that's big points as we saw. And then one more real quick, Ramondre Stevenson and J.J. Taylor. James White is probably done for the year. I couldn't pronounce the word or say the word that they said he did to his hip, but he hurt his hip really bad. So James White's probably out for an extended period of time. And if you know the Patriots, me being a Patriots fan, as you guys can see, Bill Belichick loves to use his running backs. And him and Josh McDaniels, you love using 3 different running backs, maybe even 4 running backs to get carries a game. I know Damian Harris has looked pretty good. He's promising. But the Patriots still like to sub in the different packages. So, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson, they drafted in the 4th round. He had a killer preseason. He was in the doghouse after week 1. He fumbled, cost him down the stretch. But, I mean, I'm sure he'll see more of a workload now. And even J.J. Taylor, who's mainly a return guy, but he was getting involved a lot after James White went down in the passing game. So those are just a few names to keep in mind. And with that being said, I think this wraps up the greatest podcast on turf. Week 4 waiver wire pickups. Don't forget to like, subscribe, keep showing us love. Link below to this week's podcast. First podcast where we recapped all the week 3 games, went through every game, discussed what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, and our biggest takeaways from the game. With that being said, go Cowboys, feed Zeke, Eagles K, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with our Stardom Sit 'em episode. See you guys.
See you.